Imagine a city within a city, a place so densely packed it became a solid block of buildings, blotting out the sky for those on the ground. This wasn't a scene from a dystopian movie, it was a very real place in Hong Kong known as the Kowloon Walled City. Before its demolition in 1994, it was the most densely populated spot on the entire planet, a labyrinth of concrete and steel that housed tens of thousands of people in a space barely larger than a few city blocks. The story of the Walled City is a fascinating tale of historical quirks, architectural chaos, and incredible human resilience. It was a place where ordinary life flourished under the most extraordinary circumstances, a vertical slum that, for decades, operated outside the law. To understand how such an anomaly could exist, we have to go back to the 19th century. After China's defeat in the Opium Wars, Hong Kong Island and later the Kowloon Peninsula were ceded to Britain. However, a small parcel of land, the site of an old Chinese fort, was deliberately excluded from the lease agreement. It was meant to remain a symbol of Chinese authority, a tiny outpost of Imperial China right in the middle of a British colony. This diplomatic loophole created a jurisdictional black hole. China claimed ownership but didn't govern it, and the British, for the most part, wanted nothing to do with it. This set the stage for the Walled City to become a self-governing, lawless enclave. For many years, it was little more than a quiet, low-rise settlement. But after World War II, a massive influx of refugees fleeing mainland China poured into the city, seeking refuge from civil war and poverty. They found it in the one place in Hong Kong where no one would ask any questions. This is when the Walled City began its incredible, chaotic transformation. With no building codes or government oversight, residents started building upwards, adding illegal floors, balconies, and entire structures onto existing buildings. The construction was a frantic, organic process. Corridors and staircases were added haphazardly, connecting buildings and creating a maze-like network of passages that twisted and turned in every direction. Soon, the buildings grew so tall and so close together that they merged into a single, monolithic structure. Sunlight could no longer reach the lower levels, plunging the narrow alleyways into a perpetual twilight. The streets below, often no more than a few feet wide, became a dripping, damp world illuminated by the pale glow of fluorescent lights and neon signs. Water pipes and electrical wires snaked overhead in a tangled mess, constantly leaking and creating what residents called a rainy day, even when the sun was shining outside. Navigating this vertical labyrinth was a challenge for newcomers. There were no maps, and the only way to learn the routes was through experience. You could walk across the entire city from one end to the other without ever touching the ground, traversing a web of rooftops and makeshift bridges. This architectural chaos was a direct result of the city's legal vacuum. With no government to enforce laws or provide services, the powerful criminal gangs known as the Triad stepped in to fill the void. By the 1950s, the Triads had established firm control over the Walled City. They ran gambling dens, brothels, and opium parlors, turning the city into a notorious hub for criminal activity. For the Hong Kong police, entering the city was a risky proposition. They would conduct occasional large-scale raids, but for the most part, they stayed out, leaving the Triads to rule their domain. The city became a sanctuary for fugitives and those looking to disappear from the outside world. Yet, to label the Walled City as merely a criminal den would be to ignore the lives of the vast majority of its residents. For every gangster, there were hundreds of ordinary families simply trying to make a living and raise their children. Life inside was incredibly difficult, but it was also vibrant and full of community spirit. People lived in tiny apartments, often no larger than a few hundred square feet, with entire families packed into a single room. Privacy was a luxury that few could afford. The walls were thin, and the sounds of your neighbors' lives were a constant backdrop to your own. But this forced proximity also fostered an intense sense of community. Doors were often left open, and children played freely in the narrow corridors, treating the entire city as their personal playground. Neighbors relied on each other for everything, from borrowing cooking ingredients to looking after each other's children. This spirit of mutual support was essential for survival. Since the government provided no basic services, the residents had to create their own. They dug their own wells for water and ran a network of pipes throughout the city. Electricity was often stolen from the main Hong Kong grid through a complex and dangerous web of illegal wiring. This resourcefulness was a defining characteristic of the Walled City's inhabitants. The ground floor of the city was a bustling commercial center. Because businesses didn't have to pay taxes or obtain licenses, a thriving and unregulated economy flourished. Tiny factories produced everything from fish balls to plastic toys, their machinery clattering away day and night. The air was thick with the smells of cooking food, the hum of workshops, and the steam from noodle stalls. The city was especially known for its high concentration of dentists and doctors. Many of them were trained in mainland China but were not licensed to practice in Hong Kong. In the walled city, they could set up clinics and offer affordable care to residents and outsiders alike. These businesses were the lifeblood of the community. They provided jobs and essential services, creating a self-sufficient ecosystem that was almost entirely independent of the outside world. Life went on in this strange, enclosed world. Children went to school, families gathered for meals, and festivals were celebrated in the cramped public spaces. It was a complete society, with its own rules, its own economy, and its own unique culture. Despite the darkness and the grime, residents found ways to create moments of normalcy and even beauty. On the rooftops, high above the tangled mess of the city below, people cultivated gardens, kept pigeons, and found a space to breathe and see the sky. This rooftop world was a stark contrast to the dark alleyways below. It was a communal backyard where neighbors would gather to chat, fly kites, and watch the planes descend into the nearby Kai Tak airport, flying so low it felt like you could almost touch them. By the 1980s, however, both the British and Chinese governments agreed that the walled city could not be allowed to exist indefinitely. The squalid living conditions and the high crime rate were a source of growing embarrassment. In 1987, the decision was made to demolish the city and relocate its residents. The process was complex and contentious. Many residents were reluctant to leave the only home they had ever known, despite the difficult conditions. The government offered compensation packages, and over several years, the city was slowly emptied of its 33,000 to 50,000 inhabitants. By 1993, the once teeming labyrinth was a ghost town, silent and empty. The demolition began shortly after, and over the course of a year, the monolithic structure was painstakingly torn down, piece by piece. For the first time in decades, sunlight reached the ground where the city had stood. Today, the site of the Kowloon Walled City is a beautiful public park. It preserves a few artifacts from the city's past, including an old yamen building and remnants of the original South Gate. But these small reminders can only hint at the incredible, chaotic, and vibrant world that once existed here. The walled city was a testament to the human ability to adapt, to create community, and to build a life in the most impossible of environments. It was a paradox, a place of darkness and danger, but also of community and incredible resilience. Its story continues to captivate architects, sociologists, and artists, a powerful symbol of urban chaos and the uncrushable human spirit. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the walled city fascinating, be sure to subscribe to Documentary Reel for more deep dives into the most interesting chapters of